Hi, everyone. Pastor Paul Krampitz coming to you again from my study here at Bethany Lutheran Church in Cromwell, Connecticut. What I have to share with you today is a large scallop shell. Boy, it's making me hungry, even though it's pretty early in the morning. I enjoy seafood of all sorts, and scallops are near the top of my list of favorites. This large shell was actually a gift to me from a previous bishop in the New England Synod. It was given to me around the time of my ordination. The shell is often a symbol of baptism. And in fact, in some congregations, there is a decorative shell similar to this, maybe not quite as large, that's actually used by the pastor in the sacrament of baptism to pour the water on the head of the one being baptized. So this is at once a baptismal image, but I want to talk about the significance of the shell itself. Of course, in a live scallop, there would be two of these shells, a bivalve, right? So the actual scallop would reside right here. You can almost see the spot where the scallop was. But when there's no scallop in here, it's just a shell. Some people have understood death in this way, that our human body is somewhat like a shell, and that who we really are is spirit that resides inside the shell or the mortal coil of the body, as it's sometimes referred to. And that in death, what happens is that we, the essence of who we are, our spirit or soul, if you will, sheds the shell or the body and then continues on to live eternally in heaven. And the body is simply discarded like this shell. That's actually a belief that's rooted in Greek philosophical systems, and it has little to do with the Christian understanding of who we are as people, Christian anthropology, and also what happens in death. So the classic Christian teaching is that we are embodied spirits. We certainly have a soul or spirit, if you will, but it's integral with our human body. And that what happens in death is that we die. All of us dies, spirit and soul and human body. And then there is resurrection. So not that our body remains on the ground and our soul floats up to heaven, but rather that there is a resurrection of the body, as we say in the Creed. How that all happens, of course, is a divine mystery. It's a matter of faith. One of the things I often share with people when I'm talking about how can it be that we proclaim everlasting life when we can see the physical remains of a person, their body or their ashes, and at the same time say that they rest eternally now in the light and love of God. I compare it to two different perspectives. In one perspective, in time and space, where we, of course, reside in this life, imagine that we are on one shore of the Atlantic Ocean, here on the east coast of the U.S., and we see a ship depart from that same shore and sail eastward towards Europe. Eventually, as the ship gets smaller and smaller and farther away, it gets hard to see, and then finally it dips over the horizon, and from our perspective, it has disappeared. Imagine, though, there are other folks standing on the shores of Europe, let's say France, and their perspective might be they first see a little dot on the horizon, and as that same ship approaches, it gets larger and larger and finally arrives. So what's the truth? What's reality? Is it the reality of our experience on this coast, that the ship has disappeared? Or is it the reality of those in France? The ship has arrived. Well, here it's both and. From our perspective in this life, a person has died and then they are gone. But for those that are no longer bound by time and space, who have already entered into eternity and blessed rest, the experience is that that departed person is now present and with them. So the both and. Anyway, here's my scallop shell. That's a little bit about Christian understanding of who we are, and a little, I hope, helpful way to help think about death and the reality that we are embodied spirits and not just souls who temporarily reside in a body that's discarded and then no longer needed. Well, I think that's more than enough for this time. That's pretty heavy stuff. I think I'm going to make scallops for dinner tonight. Until next time, Pastor Paul saying goodbye and God bless.